that
Same
scale
here.
to over
Yeah.
7 figures in revenue, right?
Yeah.
And so you've done that twice.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who's looking to scale to a 7-figure business?
I love money again, but I think money shouldn't be primary motivation. That's number one. Number two is like, business is hard, right? So try to what really makes you money, it's actually you. So it's like your internal fire, your internal, like, how stubborn are you, right? Are you more stubborn than the economy? Are you more stubborn than, competition? Are you more stubborn than your employees, right? It's like, you got this in you or not, right? So if you like beaten down in the corner crying, and all these trains are passing by you, you're not gonna make it to 7 figures or even to 6 figures, right?
Hey friends, so I am so excited today to be with my dear friend Elena, who's a client and an inspiration to me. And I just feel like she's one of the best people to learn from because she is like so amazing. She's like an SBA Entrepreneur of the Year, NABO Entrepreneur of the Year, and she is, I think you won the best business coach, right? Too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
All the things.
It's all because of my friends. They nominate me for everything, so I don't know.
And she's so humble. Clearly, so humble. And one thing I learned in joining Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a global mastermind of business owners, is that across all industries, no matter what business you're in, you tend to encounter a lot of the similar challenges and problems. So it might be staffing or lead generation or cash flow, P&L. And I just thought, she specialized in cleaning business, but all the lessons that she's learned from that business and the second and third business she started would be really relevant to share with some newer or aspiring business owners. So thank you so much, Elena.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited.
And she's YouTube famous. I'm just starting, but I have connections to celebrities on YouTube, so I'm so excited to be able to collaborate with you.
Thank you. So am I. I'm very honored. You're amazing. You're a very smart woman. Always smiling, but super sharp, right? So it's deceptive. I choose what she looks. She's super sharp. Let's see. Yeah, just a little bit about myself. Yes. I'm an immigrant from former Soviet Union. I am an attorney, an economist, and I also started house cleaning company here in Las Vegas. I also own security screen company, and we license and franchise both of those companies nationwide beginning last year. So, and I'm also a business coach as my hobby.
As your hobby?
Yeah, I coach service
like
companies.
You don't have a million other things going on.
It's my favorite thing by far. I used to coach for, and I still do actually, for organization where my friends are running and founded. But recently I just launched my own coaching program and it's going super well. It's focused on house cleaning companies. But yeah, I love entrepreneurship. I love coaching. I love helping others because we all start somewhere, right? And we'll all stumble and fall and we get up and we keep walking. And so I just think it's not an easiest path, but it's the most honorable.
Yeah. So Elena, can you tell me or us about how did you start your first business? Because you're a first generation immigrant. So you came to America with nothing, no connections, no money, I'm guessing, or not a lot.
Yeah.
And so how did you start from scratch?
It's actually kind of an accident. I went the traditional Asian immigrant route, which I went to law school, to the medical school or law school. So I went to law school.
That is very Asian.
Yeah, it's very Asian. And I actually graduated and I practiced law for 11 years in Honolulu. And I loved it. It was like awesome. It was amazing. And then I had my second kid and we took a sabbatical in Europe for a couple of years with my family. And when we came back, I was like, I don't know if I should go back to law. The only detriment, I love everything about law. The only thing I didn't like is it's kind of limiting. You're not free because your clients always depend on you. You can't relax even when you're on vacation. So for that reason, and it's not escapable even after you become a partner, right? So I asked if you found your own firm, you still are dependent. Actually, your clients are dependent on you, so you can't relax. So I felt like that's limiting. I didn't go back to law, but my childhood friend won green card lottery. She's from Uzbekistan. I'm from Uzbekistan too. And she moved to US and she didn't have any money or language ability or, anything for that matter. So we started house cleaning company it's not a company, it's just us cleaning houses to, pay for her bills. And we became best of Las Vegas the first year we were in business, and it just kind of escalated from there. Got a little bit out of control.
So you and her were the ones actually cleaning the homes at first.
Yeah, that was one of our. I knew I'm not going to be clean forever, but I wanted to. We started. It was our first business, and it's. I've never done professional house cleaning in my life, so I wanted to make sure that we all learn. You know what is it? Because I believe, like in any business, like you in the commercial real estate business, you understand it in and out, right? You understand it. So
yeah.
And imagine if you came in as a manager, you've never actually done a transaction on your own. I mean, how difficult and it's going to be, how detrimental it's going to be to your business and to your clients.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I learned how to scrub a toilet or scrub, or, what it feels like to stand, in client's home.
Yeah. So. I love that you share that because I think that's so true. And I personally have witnessed also like new business owners. I think that's one of the first mistakes is like, oh my God, I just need to outsource and hire everyone for everything. And as the boss, I'm not going to do any of the work, right? But that's like the opposite.
Yes.
That's the opposite where it's like, no, you need to be boots on the ground. You need to know how everything is done so that you can create those systems and those SOPs and not being too good to or above something. And that's important too. Because I know a lot of people, especially if you're someone like you who was an attorney and really like prestigious, they'd be like, oh, I'm too good to be scrubbing toilets. I'm too good to do this.
Never.
But,
it's, we have this program now where franchise, licensing our systems and opening up all over U.S. with our partners. And the partners we take are usually immigrants from like what's called E2 countries, which meaning like if you are citizen of certain countries, then and you want to move to U.S., you can open up a business as long as you have a business model and investment. Yeah. And that way you get a right to live in U.S. with your family, which is a fantastic program that U.S. government has. Yeah. A lot of times those entrepreneurs, you got to have a capital, you got to have certain accomplishments to be able to enter this program. So a lot of the partners that are coming in, they're like the largest, construction materials manufacturer right in the country, or some media mogul, or somebody has a coffee empire. Like we both know a coffee empire owner here, but imagine it's from overseas. And then, I have to put them in front of the toilet, be like, okay, here, you got to do this.
Yeah.
And there's no other way. Right. So you're asking me about E2?
Yeah. So E2, you had mentioned to me that it's something with the government. It's a visa program for people looking to start a business in the U.S.
Correct.
And it's only certain countries that are part of that list?
Yeah, U.S. made a trade treaty with about 52 countries. And for example, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Taiwan, Israel, there's certain friendly countries that if you're from a citizen from that country, you're allowed to come to U.S. as long as you can prove you got your money the honest way, like you didn't steal it or took bribes.
Yeah.
Then you're allowed to invest. It is very important because U.S., Americans are not stupid. They don't want like corrupted government officials coming in. They want somebody legit entrepreneurs. So if you're a legit entrepreneur, you have capital of about 100K, which is not a lot. And then you get to come and move to U.S. and start a business. And we sell our license. Essentially, it's like a franchise, quasi-franchise. And they give us the investment, and they get to come to the U.S. In fact, this morning I got a message from my one of my licensees. His family came down. He already got the visa. He bought a license in July last year. He got a visa in by September or October, I believe. His family just came in, and they're literally right now in Disney World.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, so how do your kids love Disney World? And his small kids, he's like, every day they say, Daddy, this is the best day of our lives.
Aww, that's
so
sweet.
I love it. I think this is amazing. Yeah.
And that's amazing. And I think it's like we are both a testament to the fact that the American dream is alive and well. Because it's like, I'm the child of first generation immigrants. My parents moved here from Taiwan with nothing. And we built everything we have today from the ground up together as a family. And you came here from Uzbekistan and built everything today, right? And so I think
this is the American dream.
Exactly.
So when people start saying like, "Oh, this country has no opportunity," it's so shit. I'm like, you don't know.
Yeah,
you don't know. So this is the greatest country in the world, especially for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love your story about how you just started with your friend, and it was just the two of you guys, basically freelancing essentially.
Yeah.
And just being service providers, and then trading time for money. But then, how did you scale beyond that? Like, what was the story process?
I'm not sure how they clean in Taiwan, but in like Uzbekistan, we clean, not me, but other women, clean super, super well, like very detailed cleaning, just almost like scrubbing into the new condition. So we decided that's how we're going to do it, because we realized early on that in home service industry, reputation is everything, right? And the best marketing you can possibly have. And I always say that to my coaching clients and my partners, the best possible marketing is you like blowing clients' mind by how amazing of a service you provide, right? Fantastic service, fantastic outcome. If it's all around amazing experience, that client's gonna go out and bring you 10 more clients, 20 more clients. So that's what we started doing early on, just make that client happy no matter what, subjectively. Because I'm not gonna get into an argument with you like, is this clean or is this not clean? If you're not happy, you get your money back. 100% satisfaction, a true 100% satisfaction guarantee. And so we kind of focused on that and being amazing. You can't fake it, you know.
I love that. Yeah. Once I heard the guy who the Pursuit of Happiness movie is based off of, the actual person, not Will Smith.
Yes.
And then he was saying the same thing, and he basically said that like it's all about world-class service.
Exactly.
It's like just provide world-class service, and that's the key. And sometimes it is that simple. So
because you can only dupe one client once. And that's it. It's like I always say, I trust everybody, but only one time, right? So if it's like you do a bad job, even if you get to keep their money, they'll leave you a bad review. They're never going to come back as a client. In house cleaning, our clients are recurring. Majority of our clients, they stay, for every 2 weeks, every month, every week, right? So if you earn that trust, they trust you with their home, with their family, with their peace of mind, with their health and safety. I think that's precious. That should be treasured, and I really respect it. I really appreciate it. And I think, we're looking for partners that are the same mentality, and we're looking for employees with the same mentality. Who, if sometimes you take employee, you can like train them and motivate them and support them, and they still do a job. When that happens, sometimes that happens. And I realized that's much easier to find an employee who like their nature is such that they cannot possibly do a bad job. You can beat them with a stick. You cannot motivate. You cannot pay them. Like, yes, they will run away from you. They would still do an amazing job because that's their true nature. They just have to do anything in an excellent way. And so that's kind of how we approached it right away. Like our cleaning was with that same mentality, and our employees were hired against the same values.
I love that. I think that's a really important lesson, because I've heard that a lot from my friends and clients, which is that hire for character. Instead of technical skill, because a technical skill is much easier to teach than that character and that work ethic that you're talking about.
By far, because I struggle with it a lot, because in cleaning industry, in home service industry, we have to hire a lot of people, right? And we depend fully on our people. It's nothing else. We don't have any widgets, right? It's just people. That's our business. We're people's business. So if people are not performing, or we did a poor job hiring, that really is detrimental to our business. So we had to figure that stuff out to be able to scale. And so my test is, if an employee is struggling, if our team member is struggling, I ask myself, is this thing that I'm supposed to be teaching them something that their mom should have taught them, or that I should teach them? And if the answer is their mom, for example, being responsible, right? Showing up on time, do it, like trying hard to do a good job, communication, politeness, common sense, all of these things, I believe it's parents' duty to teach them, not mine. And I figured that I could probably teach them myself, even those things, but literally it would take me like 10 years and all of my time, right, to raise that one person who is already an adult. If they don't know how to like clean something, if they don't know the chemicals, if they don't know something else, like I can teach them the customer service. It's all trainable, you know that. It's pretty easy to train, and it's scalable. You can create training materials, but it's very unscalable to take somebody who lacks basic decency or culture and just try to like make them into a great employee. It's just not. I don't have this kind of magical powers. So I'm very simple.
On that note, in terms of hiring, do you have any pro tips? Like, do you have any, I don't know, personality profiles that you utilize, like tests for people that you hire, or are there specific questions that you found through experience that are really good to ask someone up front?
Yeah, I usually disregard like verbally what people are saying, really, unless they say something outrageous. What they say in their resume, I also really don't care about, honestly, because people always put their like facade, right? But I look at, depending on the position, because there's certain character that is perfect for house cleaning. There's another character that's perfect for management. Another person who's perfect for admin job or creative job, right? For specifically house cleaning or any sort of job that's detailed, that requires attention to detail, caring, because house cleaners will have to like love, like give a lot of love and care to a client. It's almost like a nurse giving care. If great nurse will be very loving towards the patient, be very careful, very like soothing, right? Because you already feel terrible. So this is the same profile, exact profile that makes a great housekeeper, right? House cleaner. So, so what I'm looking for, if let's say it's an in-person interview, is how is the person dressed and groomed? Because it's a non-verbal communication. It's one thing you can say like, I'm very neat, I'm very organized.
Yeah.
But you know, if your hair is like this, like mine is right now, then probably you're not as organized, right? As you're trying to say. If your clothes is covered in crumbs, same thing, you know, it's like you can tell me all you want, but I will make my own judgment. Not to sound like, you know, a very judgy person, but that's kind of how I watch people's behavior. If, for example, I'm interviewing a person and like a kid running by and like somebody says, oh, it's this kid's birthday. If the person I'm sitting with doesn't even acknowledge that or say like, hey, happy birthday, bud, or something like that, that also tells me something about that person, that they lack some sort of like empathy or like kind of a social intelligence, emotional intelligence, right? And for some positions, so for example, if I was hiring for IT, I don't care. Like most of them will not be. Right?
That's true.
Let's face it. And it doesn't matter to them. Like I value other qualities, right? In their case, it's perseverance, you know, like attention to detail, patience, inquisitiveness, right? Whether they have crumbs on their jacket, whether they say hi to a kid or a cat, right? It doesn't matter to me. But in certain positions that are customer facing, not like back office facing, those qualities matter. So I'm trying to find, assess the character of the person really, not what they're saying to me. That makes sense.
No, that does. That makes a lot of sense, especially in like customer service facing roles like you're mentioning.
Yeah.
I think that EQ is much harder to teach than technical skills.
I don't know how.
Yeah, EQ is definitely something that you need. And it's okay. I think that's one thing I've personally learned as a business owner, where I think I used to be very judgmental and be like, I don't understand how you don't understand people or why you're not more considerate. And then I realized, there's that yin and yang and that balance. And some people are just not people persons like us, I guess, which is okay. And you need that kind of balance in an organization. But I think it depends on the role. Like you said, if it's a IT role, then they're probably not going to be that. That's why they like to stare at a computer all day. But
I appreciate diversity. I believe like the world needs all kinds of people. But I also remember I have a friend in Hawaii. Her name is Carla. I think she's 75 now. She raised 2 amazing boys, or 3, I think. So one day I was like having tea with her. Every time I go to Honolulu, we have like a little tea ceremony. So we're drinking tea, and I was like, Carla, you know, I have 2 kids, and the youngest one is exactly like me. He's a fire. He's AAA personality. Oldest one is complete opposite of me. He's like very creative. He's very like thin-skinned. He's very like dreamy, right? He's a creative person.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to I'm like being tiger mom, like, come on, you can do this. What do you want to do? You want to be an artist?
Yeah.
Do you want me to buy you a gallery? Do you want to go to Paris? Do you want to take lessons in Tuscany? He's like, no, mom, just like I'm thinking about my life, right? And so I was like, what? I feel like I'm torturing him. So I have like this Asian mom dilemma, tiger mom dilemma, right? I'm also an American, so I'm like, I'm clearly torturing my child. But I'm also an Asian mom, so I'm like, I got to do this, right? So I'm asking her, I'm like, what do you think? Like, I'm trying to how do I get him to become more like me? That's what I asked her. And she, you know, I'll never forget this. She said, like, Elena, my darling, please listen to me. Like, let him be the way he is, because if the world needs people like him, because if everybody were like you, it would be a terrible place to live. I was like, oh my God, you're right. Imagine if everybody like AAA running around, like, let's do this, let's do that. It'd be awful.
Yeah.
So like, even if somebody is covered in crumbs, even if the hair is a mess, they're probably very creative.
Yeah.
They're probably free spirited. They're probably entertaining, right? They just will not be working for me as a house cleaner. That's okay.
Yeah.
There are other things in life they could do. Perhaps if I will hire them for like advertising, for sales, right? But not for attention to detail, not management, perhaps, like, because they're bored, being fixated to a task. So why would I go against their nature when I can go with their nature?
Yeah, it just reminds me of something I went to an event recently, and the speaker said something that was really like insightful and enlightening, and I was like, oh my God, that just like clicked, because I'm the same as you. I was like, I don't understand why they're not more motivated. I don't understand why people like, you know, I think as our A-type personalities are like that, and you encounter people and you're like, I don't get it. But then this lady said, basically, she's a friend of mine. She's a mindset coach, actually, and that's her business. And she was basically like, you can't change people, but you can cultivate. So she's like, look at this. She's like, had a picture of an apple with an apple seed.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can't turn this apple seed into like a pear or a strawberry, but the apple seed can turn into an apple or maybe an orchard. Yeah. And so you help people grow and cultivate to their own potential, but their potential is not the same as you. And I said I was an avocado because I'm a good fat.
Then I'm that too.
But you get to choose, right? Like, but yeah, like, I mean, basically you're, whatever you are is what you are. And there's like, and the problem I think with a lot of us in society, I'll be the first to admit I'm guilty of it. Whereas like, I was like, why can't you be more like this? And then I realized over time, especially with like team members, that like everyone has their unique strengths, and we just have to, our job is not to change them, but is to help them grow and cultivate.
Yes, you know, sometimes my partner will complain about like this team or that team. And I was like, oh yeah, like, and who hired those people? So yeah, it's like ultimately we are the ones responsible as business owners, as the founders, who we hired, how we match that person to the position. And you know what? If you did a bad job hiring, that's okay. Just start again.
I think it's raining. Should we go inside?
It is. Yeah, we can do that.
Hopefully it's like, we had to migrate inside because it started raining outside.
Which never happens in Vegas, by the way.
It doesn't. But it's okay. We are resourceful, and I brought lights. So
yes, that's amazing. Very well prepared.
Part of being an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, exactly.
Adapt, pivot when needed.
Yes. Yeah. And keep smiling.
Yeah. So let's see. We're talking about hiring people. And so let's go back to that. So you started with just you and your best friend. When did you first hire someone? Like, how long was it just you two?
It actually wasn't just two of us. We had a third partner at the time, and then we had also her husband. So there's four of us.
Oh, four of us.
Yeah. Okay. And then we, in terms of cleaning, I went into marketing right away, and then our other partner did administration, right? And then my childhood friend and her husband, they're actually doing cleaning. And then we started bringing in other friends to help us when we realized like we're landing large orders or lots of orders. So we started bringing in people, hiring them, doing a terrible job hiring. But eventually we've gotten better and better. Every time there was a mistake or problem, there was that feeling, like a sinking feeling, like, what am I doing? Even to this day, like I'm starting like new levels of my businesses or new projects. And sometimes you don't know, you're like free falling at some point. And you're like, am I on the right path? Am I doing something stupid? Like you don't have the confidence because you haven't been at that level yet, right?
Yeah.
So, but you gotta like calm yourself down and be like, no, I'll move forward. Let me learn. What is my lesson here, right?
Yeah.
How can I create a system? What truly is an issue here? Whether it's an opportunity or a fail, like we always would stop and analyze. Actually, it was a lot of fails like in the beginning. So like, what was the problem here? How can we solve this systematically? Not just like today, but how can I do? So what can I do so I will never have that problem in the future? So we would systemize it. Our whole system, our whole business is highly systemized. That's why it's scalable.
Yeah. And you're really good at systems. So
yes, that's my jam.
So can you share actually on that note? And I definitely agree. I think, I always say failures are the best lessons. And like, I think I'm the first one to admit, like I'm guilty of it, where I've sometimes have been afraid to level up or take that next step or grow because I've been afraid of failure. And especially like whether it's when I was my first business or when I was like trying to get to the next level, I was like, should I do this?
Yeah, pain aversion.
Yeah. Even this project. Like I talked to you about starting this YouTube thing
that you're doing
where I was like thinking about it for like a year, and I was like scared and nervous and afraid, and then you stared your journey last year and inspired me to start this journey. So thank you so much for your inspiration.
And other people inspired me, so that's why I love entrepreneurs. It's like a special tribe, and we all inspire each other, support each other, right? When one of us is down, we just pick them up, like, you can do it, buddy, right? And keep on moving forward. So
I think that is also an important lesson on this journey, the importance of peer groups and having people in your circle who are going to inspire you, who are going to encourage you, and who are going to help you when you're facing those challenges or failures and things.
Absolutely.
A lot of I think a lot of people that I've spoken to, it's like they get discouraged by their family and friends, and that's another reason why they don't start their journey. If they're like they had this desire and this vision, but they're like, oh, like my mom says it's too risky.
Especially the Asian,
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Why can't you be a doctor like all the normal kids?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree. So on the lesson, on the failure thing, can you share a story like of a failure that you encountered and that helped you grow that would be helpful for someone who's a new or aspiring business owner?
Yeah, for sure. So we had one of the first jobs we did was we did a terrible job. I mean, we tried our best, but the client was extremely picky. So she would ask us to come back over and over and over, like 7 or 8 times. And thank God I live nearby. So literally hop back in the car, drive up, and we'll try to clean it again. We'll go, and then again, and we'll go. And then my partner was like crying. Like we're cleaning, she's crying. And it was a move-out house. So it wasn't like the client lived there. She was a neighbor who's, she's a friend of a client who was there to supervise, make sure she did a good job. And of course, she's trying hard. Now I understand for her friend. So she's like, oh, what about this? You forgot there's like a sliver of dust on, like in between the wall and the power outlet. It's just a tiny sliver of dust, right? You got to come back and clean that. So we will go back over and over. And my partner was crying. I was like, are you crying because of how hard this is? Or are you crying because we're not getting paid enough? She's like, because we're not getting paid enough. I'm like, all right. So let's do this. Let's learn to clean in a way that will meet the strictest standard. And it's going to take much longer because you got to clean a lot more surfaces, right? Down to like this different slivers and AC vents and ceiling fans and baseboards. We'll do super highly detailed clean that any client like that, any picky client will be happy with, but we'll charge for it. So high quality, high price, right? And so we decided, like, if she said like I just hate doing this, we would probably given up, just fold it to 10. But in this case, we're like, let's learn from what's the lesson here. So that's our specialty. We do extremely deep cleaning. So when people come in and look at their house, they start crying, they're tearing up because they've never seen a house like this. So amazing. And of course, that makes them emotional. They go leave 5-star review. They'll bring their friends and family. They become a permanent client. And so that's why we grew like a wildfire. And that's what we're training all of our partners to do with their staff, with their standards. So that's like a example of a fail. It was a major fail, but it turned out okay for us. What's another one?
I think that's a really important lesson though, because it's like something I know and heard commonly is like the riches are in the niches, right? And it's like that allowed you to carve out your niche of like, basically, hey, we're looking for a high quality, high end, and it's about value, not about cost. Yes. And so in an industry that's highly commoditized, you guys were able to basically differentiate yourself and charge the premium. And I think that's really important for new businesses, especially because I think that's something that a lot of business owners and newer businesses think like, oh, I can only compete on price. And that's something that I think we both said we love Alex Hormozy. He talks about often, right? Like it's not always about price. Price is like when your service or your product is very commoditized. But if you are offering something that's really valuable and that's different, then people are going to appreciate that and they're willing to pay a premium for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think another lesson was I started, you know that because you're supporting me amongst my other friends. I started the energy shot company. Remember? 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's called Mommy Go. It's a great idea. So it's basically a Red Bull or a 5-hour energy, but it's healthy, made with the premium Japanese matcha, right? Yeah. So and it was actually air flown to the States from Japan. It was the very first harvest of like spring leaves from Japanese mountain green tea, right? So it was amazing, and is grown in the shade. So it gives you like this boost of energy, and it's a really gentle energy, and it's lasting energy, super good for your health. But the way I wanted to do it is very healthy. So we didn't use any preservatives. We didn't use a lot of sugar. It was only like a little bit of natural sweeteners. And so obviously when you make that, like, it's not necessarily that it's something that's typical, American palate accepts that that's a good thing. Because for that kind of, for a drink, you have to be mass produced. People have to love it, right? And if you want to stick to your guns, and I had that choice. People said, look, all you got to do, even like industry insiders, add some preservatives. to it, right? That will reduce your cost of, because we had to what's called like hot bottle, essentially, like with a sterilized bottle, so you don't have to use chemicals, and that's how you bottle it. And it's very expensive, as you can imagine. But all you have to do is just add like 2 cents worth of some toxic, and then you don't have to do anything. It will last forever through a nuclear apocalypse, right? And it's cheap. So, but I'm like, I don't want to do that because this is like for moms, this is for women. I don't want them to drink toxic. Like, I'd rather not even be rich. I'd rather not have a drink at all than do that, right?
I agree.
So, but it also didn't taste that good because I also didn't say yes to sugar, right? Because they were like, you gotta add more sugar, dude. Like, add more sugar. Like, that's what people want. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that either because I don't want people to get diabetes, especially moms. I don't want that on my consciousnness. So the product could use a lot of improvement, taste wise. Like I think we got it to the point where it tasted pretty good. We used like what's it called, like a dragon fruit or something like that, dragon fruit flavor. So it's very flavorful, and we used other things. And I spent about maybe $100,000 invested into the project. And it's a good thing that I like stopped right there because at some point we're selling it Amazon. It was selling pretty good, and one day there was a sale. One bottle cost $4. And I could not make it any cheaper because it was like literally premium ingredients, packaged very expensively. So it was competing against 5-Hour Energy, which was like $1.50 or something, because 5-Hour Energy ingredients are like 2
trash.
cents. Yeah. But it's great business, right? It's like you have to be like, I don't know, not revolutionary. You have to be idealistic, or you have to be business minded sometimes. In this case, I chose the other path. But nevertheless, it was selling. So I sold it on Amazon. It was like one bottle was $4. So I sold for $5. I sold $20 worth. And I was happy as shit. I was like, yeah, oh my God, I'm so happy I sold $20. And I was like, what am I doing? If $20 falls on the ground in house cleaning business, it's not, nobody's gonna pick it up. Like, honestly, they are gonna pick it up. But it's not a lot of money because average ticket there used to be $250. Now it's $350, which a customer pays you every 2 weeks. Typically. That's an average ticket. And some people pay way more. Some people pay $10,000 for house cleaning. Imagine, like, if you have a mansion, you get us to come in 2-3 times a week, big crew, then you pay a lot of money. So I could make $350 here, $20 here, and then my other business, which is security screens company, average ticket was between $8,000 and $12,000 for one sale. And I was like, yes. So that's another business I'm involved in. And so I was like, I should not be spending my energy, my heart, my time to make $4, or even honestly to make $250. I should like do this $8,000, $10,000, right? Since then, I traveled even further down the pipeline. So, but I froze that project, even though it was like dear to my heart. What we're trying to do is change the market a little bit, but also we're going to benefit nonprofit. You know, that Dina has is Healthy Sunrise. Healthy Sunrise, it helps like pregnant women to give birth to healthy babies. So it's an amazing cause, and I just thought like this is going to be a good complementary thing, a business that produces money in a good way, in an honest way, not the toxic, and it also helps babies, helps mothers. So it's like a really beautiful thing. I didn't do it for the money, but then like neither her nor I wanted to compromise with certain things, right? And then it wasn't a lot of money, so I was like, okay, I gotta stop doing that. I'm gonna invest. Like, it's still on one of those platforms where if like a big store, if like Whole Foods someday will be like, oh, you know what, we're ready for this product. Okay, fine. Like it's a legitimately healthy product. It's gonna do well. It does work. A lot of my friends and you including saying like it works. Give me energy, right? I feel good. But until then, I'm not gonna spend a lot of my energy on that. Like right now, I'm doing coaching. That little hobby turned out to be probably by far the most lucrative thing that I do. Like we're aiming for 6 figures a month, every month, believe it or not, which is like, I didn't expect that because I only spend 2 to 3 hours a week on that maximum, right? So that tells me I gotta invest more effort into developing that because the checks there are higher, and I gotta abandon my prior project, which I like. In a way, people tell me it's not a fail, but I do consider it a fail because I should have analyzed all that stuff ahead of time.
I don't think it's a failure. I think it's a good lesson, like we talked about, right? And it's funny what you're saying because it's really in alignment with my own journey too, where I experienced something similar. Like I started in real estate, where it's like I'm making an impact, I'm making an income, and it's like usually high ticket. It's like, thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes a 6-figure commission every so often when you get a big deal. And then, as you know, I was a co-founder and investor into a salon.
Yeah. Yes.
And that was similar to you, where it's like, it's like, oh yeah, like,
what am I doing in my life?
Like a $30 sale, right? And then like the profit margin's like what, $10 after if that after overhead, after paying out the technician, after all of that. And then same thing where I had I don't know if you remember, I had a little shoe like flats company. Like I tried e-commerce. Same kind of thing where I'm like, oh my god, like a $40 sale, but like our margins are like what? It's like make $10 on a pair and kind of thing. So it's interesting how so many of us, I think, learn similar lessons on the journey of like, okay, well, I'm passionate about this, but also I need to figure out like, is there commercial viability? Is there a profit margin? Is this worth my time? And I think and energy, and it's two parts to that, right? And then the other part of that I want to follow up is that I love how transparent you always are and how authentic and open you are about numbers and money, because I think a lot of people are just afraid to talk about it, but that's so necessary. And I like that, the transparency. So on that note, like, would you mind sharing some of it? Like, what's the highest you've grossed in your cleaning business? And then and I know you built up the security screen doors pretty quickly. I know we talked about that, like from 0 to the revenue.
That
like
is the security screens, it's at 7.5 million annual revenue.
How long did it take you to get from that 0 to 7.5?
Like 4 years.
4 years to 7.5.
And I didn't come in the beginning. I came in like a year or two, I think. Scale it specifically. And now I like left that company too. I mean, I'm still on their like advisor and coach and shareholder. But I realized that, I can have even higher tickets because selling franchises, selling licenses, we did $1 million just in that last year.
So that's for selling the licenses for your cleaning business.
Correct. Yeah. And security screens as well. So we sold like 2 security screen licenses, and I don't know how many, over like a dozen, I think, and each one is between $75,000 and $100,000. So you can do the math. It's like numbers are there, and especially since you consider franchising and licensing, if you do your own marketing, which is the biggest expense, which I do, it's my own marketing. We have extremely high. Almost all of it is profit. Right? You invest a bit back into like developing the brand, but essentially it's an info business, and that's what my mentor told me. He's like, you need to do an info business. So I'm like, oh, screw that, I don't want to do info business. Like that's disrespect. That's not respectable, right? And he's like, no, you don't understand. Like you are in info business. You're licensing, franchising. It's info business. You're selling information. I was like, like I realized that he's right, and so I took it seriously. And so we started in May, I think, of last year, actively promoting it, pushing it. So we did
for the licensing, just for the licensing.
Yep. So we did like $1 million in gross revenue last year, and then
so $1 million in 7 months. Then from like May to December for the
and then we're planning to do 100 of those in the next 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm also trying to do, let's see, our main operations for house cleaning in Vegas, that's 1.8 million run rate right now, so annual. So
how long did it take you to get to 7 figures for the cleaning business?
That was pretty quick, actually. We hit it, first year we did 568,000, and the second year we did 1.2 million.
Oh wow! So
it's very quick.
Only year 2 to get to 7 figures.
It's not normal, but it happens. Other people do
it's that. Normal if you're Elena.
No, not necessarily. So
that's amazing. 568 gross revenue in year 1, and then 1.2
million
in year 2. So you basically doubled revenue.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I thought we're gonna keep doubling, but that didn't happen. I also stepped aside at some point because I said we split our duties. Like my partner was responsible for production, hiring, and I was doing marketing, right, and branding. And marketing, once you set up the channels, they just keep giving you. You have to keep spinning if you do it right. So this is what I did, and I was kind of bored. And the way we made the deal is like I don't interfere with how she runs operations, and she doesn't interfere with how I do branding and marketing, right? Like she can express her opinion, but I'm not gonna abide by that necessarily, and vice versa. So when we hit, I think we were 1.2, then 1.3, 1.5. Like we went through COVID and the whole deal. That was very exciting. And then I was like, I like the way she was doing things, not necessarily how I would do it, because she's an architect, so everything is very complex for her. Like for me, it's very simple. I do everything simple, right? So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna touch the company. Just let it be, and just call me when you're in trouble, right? So what she does occasionally, she's like, I'm in trouble, so I'll jump in and help. But normally she runs it for the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years. She runs it completely on her own, and she doesn't have to. She can just unplug. She's like, what else am I gonna do, right? So, and me, I was involved with all these other ventures, with security screens and coaching. And now I'm like, you know what? What I'm gonna do is we're gonna do licensing of the model, which is what we're doing. The timing is right.
Licensing for the cleaning is what you're expanding on.
Yeah, like that's the major one. We also do security screens, but it's a construction company in essence. The tickets are higher, but so is capital investment. The risks are higher, right? But you can scale much higher because it's bigger tickets, much bigger tickets. So we're doing that as well, but low key, because there I'm a lot more selective by partners. In general,
and the barrier to entry is higher because of the cost and the licensing required.
Yeah, I mean it's very lucrative, and it's a good business, and it's badly needed in this world, unfortunately, because it protects from home invasions, protects from even like we're covering a lot of schools nowadays in Vegas, where like it's not bulletproof, but it definitely nobody can get in. They can small caliber bullets they won't go through, and then large caliber they'll go through, but you still cannot get into the door, right, or the window. So it's like super relevant nowadays, unfortunately. So the sales are great, but again, it's not the easiest business, especially if you're immigrating to US. Whereas cleaning is very simple. Everybody knows that what needs to happen, essentially, right? We just added systems to that, so it's more, so it's faster, it's better customer experience. You can charge higher tickets because you're worth it, right? I'm all about decreasing the tickets for everything. I'm always advising. Number one thing I advise to people is raise your price. All my clients, my friends, my coaching clients, I'm like, raise your damn ticket. Like it's too low. But I'm never a proponent. I was like, okay, I do a shit job. I do a mediocre job, super mediocre job, but I'm going to raise my price. It's not like that. Raise the price to X, but deliver like 2X value. So that person is grateful that they paid you X because they received double X. Right?
I'm on the same page. I mean, most of the time, like, the commissions I make, I help my clients make probably 10X that.
You're so worth it. Oh my God.
You know that firsthand. She's
Yes.
experienced that firsthand. So
commercial.
she can attest to that.
Yes.
I've helped most of my clients make like 5 or 10X what I get paid. And so they don't care. They're like, make your money because you're helping me make 5 or 10X whatever you're making. So
we double we double our investment in 2 years, like with a commercial warehouse. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's really like important what you said, because that's another thing where if people are kind of like in that ideation phase of like, I want to start a business, I have these ideas, but sometimes they don't think about like the barriers to entry, right? Okay, what licensing do I need? Or what's the learning curve of this industry? Or what's the startup cost of this industry? I know those are a few things I've encountered where they're like, yeah, I want to start a restaurant. And I'm like, that might be like a $500,000 startup cost, and I work with a lot of restaurants, and I love that industry and helping them. But it's like, if you're starting from scratch, it's a very tough industry to start with, with the capital requirements up front. So and
it's a hard industry to survive, especially in Vegas, where the best chefs in the world will come to Vegas.
Yeah. Well, you need the passion and you need the startup capital. Yeah, so that's definitely something interesting. And then on the marketing side, you said you handled marketing. Like, do you do mostly organic or do you do paid? And what do you recommend, and what has been the most effective for you in terms of marketing?
We do. I believe like marketing is kind of like a search. You have a theory as to what might work, hypothesis, and you test it out, right? You actually do it and then see if it's working or not. If it's working, if you feel like signs of life, then you can like kind of deepen it a bit, invest more effort, more money into it, and try more, tweak the message, tweak whatever. And then I believe that in US in particular, even between like nearby cities like Henderson and Las Vegas, you may have differences in terms of what kind of people live there, what do they care about. Because marketing is really, you have to like strike somebody in the heart, that they want to trust you, they want to give you their money, right, voluntarily. You don't have to beg them for that. So that means that you emotionally have to connect with that client, and you have to make them trust you, make them want to like deal with you, for many years. So how do you do that? Well, it's really hard to do. I can't really give you a blanket answer because there's no blanket solution, but the solution is really to just test your audience. Like, first of all, make a theory, like, who is your target audience? Who is your actual ideal client? And do they even like live where you are? Because sometimes, I have some clients who are entrepreneurs in coaching clients who are entrepreneurs in like Midwest, right? It could be like a super small, super rural community. And they're looking at me like, oh, I want to have a client who pays me $10,000 a month, right, for house cleaning. I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's just like not going to happen, right? You just have to adjust. Either you go outside of your market or change offer something else, sell something that's much higher ticket, not like house cleaning necessarily. So as long as people are there, you believe that this is my ideal client. So for instance, our clients are typically we have two avatars. One is a retired couple. Typically, it's a couple. Sometimes it's one person. Typically, it's a retired couple. They moved from like LA or New York, right? They bought a huge house because they're so happy that like there's so much house you can buy in Vegas.
Yeah.
And then after they close, they realize, oh, who's going to clean this, right? And so that's when they call us. They still have a ton of money. They are usually on fixed income. They don't care about how much it costs, but they want like top-notch service because that's how they've been their whole life. They just go for the best. And that's who typically buys our services. We have celebrities, we have athletes, we have authors, right? And then we have casino owners. But on another avatar is a busy professional, like a lawyer, doctor, engineer, who is just so busy and just comes home spent. Like there's no way they're going to be also scrubbing the toilet, right? So that's another really good avatar. Our best client is actually an attorney. He's just like, he's been with us for years. He's just like, here's my keys, right? Just charge my card, right? And just do whatever. And like, he's happy because we're quick, professional. He never checks, what, like in terms of charges, because he knows we're on it. And he just trusts us. So we're also very structured, right? I'm also an attorney. So we're very like, so that's a perfect client for us. So once you figure out, look, this is my client, is a professional or young person. Typically young people, unfortunately, young people, you're typically not a ideal client avatar. Typically, I recommend choosing your avatar as somebody who's older because those people have assets that they're willing to spend on a good service. Younger people, like, I still got energy. I got to clean my own home, right? I got to do my own thing, right? So, but older people with assets, typically wealthy people, they're usually ideal clients. I also like certain cultures, not so much culture by itself, but the culture of being nice. Like, because I always say, like, to be our clients, you have to be nice and have money. If you're only one or another, you're not a client. I don't care how rich you are. If you're nasty to my staff, you're not going to be our client. A client can fire you on the spot, right? So, so we're always looking for nice people with money, and then you have to figure out, okay, where are those people? Like, where are they hanging out? Where are their eyeballs? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they in like National Association of Women Business Owners, right? Are they in what is it, like entrepreneur, like EO, right? And where are they hanging out? And then go there. Maybe they're reading newspapers. Then you got to advertise in newspapers. I don't know. Maybe listen to podcasts. Be on podcasts. Maybe they're receiving like some sort of analog direct mail, and that's what they're actually reading. I don't know who reads that stuff, but somebody does. And for instance, one of the things I realized is like a lot of our clients, the older demographics, for some reason they're on Nextdoor. I don't know if you've ever been to Nextdoor, but
I've heard of it.
I just go in and I was like, oh my God, my eyes are bleeding and they're back out. But my clients are there. So what we did is like we encourage our clients post shout outs to us, the reviews on Nextdoor. And I'm like, if you send me a screenshot that you did it, we'll give you some sort of like perk, right? Like free house cleaning, or just like our eternal gratitude. Like you don't have to give up money or perks. You just like say like, this is what's important to me. Please help me out. A lot of times they do, and it actually works better than money. People want to support small businesses because we're cool, right? We're cool. So I've been asking clients, they've been doing it, and that's been hugely beneficial in terms of like source of leads. It costs nothing. Another great source of leads is just having great friends. Just make business partnerships, make relationships. Be like, all right, so meet with people and be like, how can I help you? And not think about like, if you and I've met for the first time, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, order my cleaning services, like do this, can you send me clients? Send me clients. You're real, like you'd be like, oh no, like I don't want to know you. But instead, try to like figure out how can I help that person? What can I give her, right? And so, and then generally try to benefit that person. If you keep doing that, that becomes the best source of leads because that person becomes your advocate. Like I have so many connections, especially in Las Vegas, that if somebody ever says, and you can buy house cleaning, immediately like there's 5 people will say like, oh, this is for me. It's like this morning I got a voicemail. Somebody's calling me. Like apparently people are giving my cell number to somebody who needs house cleaning.
I tag you on Facebook all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's amazing and it's so sustainable. It doesn't matter what is the economy. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Whether you have paid ads on or off, whether you were like skedaddling, whether you're relaxing in Japan, right, with your family, or like on a farm or something, it doesn't matter. Like those leads keep coming because your relationship is eternal. It's like lasting. Yeah. You build that relationship once and it keeps giving.
Yeah, I love that.
Like I got the biggest New Year present of my life this morning from you this afternoon, right? So it's it's just that's not why I do it, but that's marketing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I love that you shared that because I think especially in the day and age of the internet world, a lot of people get like overwhelmed and get this analysis paralysis of like, oh, I need to do SEO, I need to do this, I need to do that, and like overcomplicate things, and then don't do anything sometimes. And it's like, I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, and one of the things he says is like, complexity is the enemy of execution.
Yes.
And so I agree with you. It's like, sometimes it's old school. Sometimes the best marketing is word of mouth. And especially when you're brand new and you don't have any marketing budget and you don't, and like, because we all start somewhere, right? We either have no marketing budget or very limited. Sometimes it's just about cultivating those relationships and the strategic partnerships, like you mentioned. And I did the same thing where I would reach out to people and I was just like, I wouldn't be like, work with me if you need commercial real estate, buy marketing me. It's more so like, what do you do? How can I help you? And a lot of that over the years and just like serving as a connector, serving as a resource. And that's why I would say probably 95% of my business is referral based.
Well, I don't know how we came across you, but I think, and I don't know how we even became your client, but like we bought a lot of properties, sold a lot of properties. You bought a mile at the best agent I've ever had. Like I swear, I'm not saying it because it's your channel, right? And that's you, but I objectively can evaluate any professional, right? And if I wasn't happy with this, if I didn't believe that, I would tell you this off camera, right? But I think legitimately, I think what I appreciate about your service is like, sometimes agents, they don't want to close, they just want to close the deal. They just want to close the deal, get the commission, right? Which is great. I love that. I also love money, right? Money's my best friend. However, if it's contrary to clients' best interest, I don't want you to do that, right? So that's like super important. And clients feel that. They know it. They're not stupid, right? How do they get money? They didn't get the money to buy like a commercial property or like residential by being stupid. They can evaluate the person. And that might be your last transaction with them, right? If that's the sense, the vibe they get from them. And I have agents whom I will never, ever hire again, right? But that's more like on the residential side. But in general, with you, when we talked about like, oh, let's place this property for sale, you're like, okay, let's do, like you did your usual thing, like we did the market analysis. Well, this is the range. And I was like, why don't we put, this is the range, why don't we put it like way over here? Because I don't really have to sell it, but I just want to see what happens. Yeah. And most agents will be like, are you out of your mind? Like, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. Right? But you're like, you know what? Let's try it. Right? And we sold it at that price, right?
All cash too.
Yeah.
All cash buyer.
Yeah, and that's what I love about you because I think a great agent should be on your side.
Yeah.
Right? Just like great insurance agent, great attorney, great CPA, they have to be in your corner. They cannot work contrary to your interest, right? So, I think that's fundamental. And then let alone like you have everything buttoned up and you're like really super detail oriented, which really helps in commercial real estate transactions. So I think like that's another important thing for business. If you act in the best interest of your clients, they will never forget. They'll always feel it. They will always appreciate it. And they'll always come back and bring their friends. And that's how you grow. That's how you scale. If you keep doing it as a habit, yes, you could probably make a little bit more money or quicker money right now if you just take advantage of that one client, one situation. but you will never scale because everybody hates that shit.
Penny wise, pound foolish. Right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's too short-sighted.
Yeah, like you just try being in your client's corner.
It's the best testimonial.
It's true.
I might have to cut that and put that on.
You should. No, you should. I mean, I swear, I think like I've had agents who would pressure me to sell something, right, at a certain price.
Yeah.
Or to buy something at a certain price. And I think like, especially when you're buying like a residential, it's like even commercial, like, oh my gosh, it's the first building I'm buying, right? There's a lot of emotional kind of vulnerability. You're like, you really want this to happen. This is your dream because this is your business, right? And you can make a stupid mistake while you're doing that because of the emotions. So when I deal with people, if they're trying to take a big leap and like one of my clients wants to buy this other guy out of venture, and he's like, I want to pay $300,000. And I was like, I know why he wants to do it, but I can feel emotion. If the person is unemotional, is like, all right, like this is I did the analysis, this is how it looks in numbers. Okay, by all means, go spend $300,000 on this. But whenever I feel like person is like really, really emotional about something, it always makes me want to like pause them, like hold them a little bit so they just rationally think. So I think as an agent, you're not emotional about it, right? Like, yes, you do want to make money, but you're like, you can actually kind of observe what's going on. And I think if you see the client who's like getting like carried away because they really want that house, like, oh my God, I have a transaction now that's pending. This entrepreneur, business owner, he's been in business for many years. He fell in love with his dream property somewhere like out on the other part of the country. It's like 100 acres of prime land and it looks like his dream. So he's telling me, look, I want to sell my business and I want you to be the buyer, right? Because I want to, and I'll sell it for cheap because I want that dream land.
Wow.
Right. And I told him, like, don't do it, man. Like, go put it on this, on this platform, and you'll get like double of what I'm willing to pay for your business. Right. Not that it's not worth it, but that's how I value businesses. Go put it out there. And he's like, all right. And so a week later, he comes back. He's like, no, I still want you to buy it. So I'm like trying to figure this out. But I think like it's never a good idea buying something, investing to something when you're so emotional. Yeah. And I think, don't you see that? Like when people buying, like, or sell, even if it's a commercial, they're still like, oh my gosh, we're gonna open this factory. Oh my God, we're gonna open this restaurant. I'm about to spend $500,000 on this thing, right? And you're like, okay.
Well, it goes back to what we were saying about like the startup costs and the risk. And as much of a capitalist as I am, and as much as I love the American dream and entrepreneurship, it's not always the best time or the best opportunity for everyone. And exactly, like I am 100% in agreement with you, where it's like, it's not about closing, it's about caring the most, that same thing goes for entrepreneurship. So what I've realized is like throughout my career, one thing I've done is like, I will sometimes tell people like, hey, I don't think it's in your best interest right now or to start this particular business. And it's like, I'm on a Hormozy binge recently, but like there's a training he did, like the best sales training ever or whatever. And it was really interesting because he said that he's like, to close more deals and to be successful in sales, all you have to do is care the most. And it's very like counterintuitive to a lot of people who are new to business or to new to sales. But business in general, it's really about adding value and caring the most about your client and customer. And,
but nobody wants to hear that. But it's the truth.
It means telling them like, hey, this is not a good fit. I don't think we should do a deal. I don't think you should work with me right now.
Yeah. And so, but guess what? It's like you acted in my best interest. And like from now on, any future transactions I'm gonna go through potentially in a whole like state of Nevada are yours, right? I'm not gonna go with that. I'm not gonna consider another agent, right? So, but the same token, I have agents I would never work with. I finished that transaction and it was terrible. Like I had to do all the work, and I feel like they pressured me into the lower price, and because it wasn't me who brought that agent into the transaction. Let's just put it that way gently. I just rolled with it. I was super annoyed, and I just rolled with it. But I'm like, I will never, ever hire that person ever again, right? So it's like that, and I buy and sell real estate all the time. Like I do. This is one of my favorite ways to invest, right? So that person,
Asian.
I know, right? So that person lost out on a ton of commission because of that one time, for whatever the hell reason he needed to. Maybe that's how, like, he actually doesn't do a lot of volume. That's I realized later. My other friend who's a real estate agent, he's like, let me look it up. Like, so he looked up, he's like, the guy like barely sells anything. And this is probably why, because he doesn't care enough about the client. He might get occasional victim due to like some sort of friendship or past history, but he would have made so much more money, would have been so much more successful had he actually cared about me as a client and said like, or other clients to say like, you know what, don't make this price so low. Like, he should have been on the other. I was like, look, I even did my own research on Zillow. I think my house is worth that, right? He's like, no, market is not good. It's not good. It's not good. And it's very typical, isn't it? Unfortunately, like, everybody knows that sometimes agents will try to pressure you to just because they want to close that transaction.
My team is the opposite. I mean, even like we literally just went through this with a friend of mine, and it's interesting because Zillow, like, sometimes it's way off and way low actually. So in this particular case, the Zestimate showed it at about 1.6 million, this person's house, and my agents did the due diligence and comps, and they're like, look, we can price it probably between 2.55 to 2.6 million, or even 2.65 million, they were saying. And I'm like, wow, like, you know, if someone was lazy or just wanted to get the deal, that's like $1 million difference for this client because they were lazy or they wanted a quick sale. And then like my team, and that's why I'm really grateful for my team, same thing, where they're like, they actually care, and they're like, look, let's just try like to get this client the best price, you know, and if it takes a little longer, if we have to price shop or whatever it is, we'll do that later, but why not try? Why not help them get the most benefit if you're helping sellers?
That's why you guys are so successful.
And so I think that's important.
So, I mean, it just pays. It's like people are like, well, why are you so nice, or why are you this? I'm like, it just makes good business sense.
You just have to care the most.
It's that's
simple.
how you scale.
Yeah. Awesome. I feel like we can talk for hours always about. I feel like we need a part 2.
Yeah, we'll do it. That's fine.
I know, but so for today though, I know we talked a lot about like a bunch of things, but if you were to give like a final piece of advice to someone who's new or aspiring as a business owner and wanted to start and scale to 7 figures, because you've done that with 2 businesses already, which that's like one business scaling to 7 figures is already a unicorn. I forget what the percentage is, but it's like, I think single digits, that like
9%.
Oh,
yeah.
Numbers. 9% of small businesses that
I had to look it up for my client who just hit 9.
that scale to over 7 figures in revenue, right? And so you've done that twice. So what advice would you give to someone who's looking to scale to a 7-figure business?
I think I love money again, but I think money shouldn't be primary motivation. That's number one. Number 2 is like, business is hard, right? So try to what really makes you money, it's actually you. So it's like your internal fire, your internal, like, how stubborn are you, right? Are you more stubborn than the economy? Are you more stubborn than, competition? Are you more stubborn than your employees, right? It's like, you got this in you or not, right? So if you're like beaten down in the corner crying and all these trains are passing by you, you're not going to make it to 7 figures or even to 6 figures, right? So you got to be strong. Like, internally, entrepreneurs, that's why I love entrepreneurs and I respect us, is because we have the balls, first of all, which is always nice. And second is like, we, even though things are really hard, we keep going.
Yes.
Don't think about like, oh, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna not make it? Just keep going. Just keep going. Do your due diligence. Have great advisors, great friends, right? Do your research. Definitely use your brains, but don't let the world beat you down. Right? Don't tell yourself that you cannot do it. In fact, when I do business coaching services, the one thing I can never overcome with the clients, because I help scale multiple companies, like dozens to 7 figures. But the one thing I can never overcome is when a person, and it could be the smartest, most intelligent, nicest person, talks to themselves in a derogatory way. When they say, I'm stupid, I'm not worthy, I'm whatever. And women tend to do it a lot more than men for some reason. But I think men do too, actually. So when you do that, that's almost like a death sentence in terms of your entrepreneurial career. So quit that. Like, start treating yourself with respect. And if you're not capable of doing it, at least don't pass judgment. Like, sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to evaluate whether or not I'm going to be successful in this action, but I'm just going to try it. Right? don't even think about what your chances are, because actually you have no freaking clue. Just do it, and they'll figure out later, because 90% of success is showing up.
Yeah.
So that's my advice.
I love both of that, and I was like, I'm gonna break my own rules because we always do as entrepreneurs. Yeah, but like, so you said don't start just for the money, which I agree with wholeheartedly. And so on that note, like, what inspired you to start your business, and what is your why or purpose now, if it's changed since when you started?
Yeah, and originally it was for necessity, and that was my strongest why. In general, even to succeed, to like climb up that ladder, like to be a lawyer, what inspired me was just abject poverty that I lived in when I first immigrated to US. That's horrific. Like my newborn, my first son slept in a chest of drawers box, right? Like the actual drawer. Like we're that poor, or like were you ever so poor that your neighbors anonymously would leave food on your doorstep? Like it was that kind of poverty. So I was very ashamed of it, embarrassed. So that drove me to succeed in law, for example, for a long time. But after I reached a certain level and I was kind of financially retired already and accomplished, I started a house cleaning business. My friend's situation inspired me because she just immigrated and she needed something to survive, right? So that was kind of a forced thing. Like we had to do it. And I think that worked as a why for a while. Recently I had to rediscover what that is, and you're kind of going through similar journey. It's like what is it for me? Because I lost it, because your life changes. Like what was valid before. My friend is like a millionaire now, right? So I can't use the same excuse that I'm trying to help her. I'm not.
And I think that's important to recognize that your purpose and why evolves with you over time. The same thing, it evolved. Mine evolved too. Like my first why was like, I want my family, I want us to get out of poverty. I want us, like, we always had a roof over our head. We always have food to eat. Like we were grateful for that. But like we were first generation immigrants too, and that was my why for a long time. The same thing. Like once your family becomes like we're like multimillionaires, you're like, that can't.
I can't pretend anymore.
What's the next step, right? And so same kind of thing where it's like, okay, now what? And for me, it's like this. It's how can I inspire, educate, empower, and help the next generation and people who are where I was, where my family was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Do you feel like in your heart?
Yeah, like so for that, it's like, it's like that's where I realized this is why, like we talked about, like I had this imposter syndrome, like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm capable, I don't know. But they're like, you're the most qualified and equipped to advise the person you were 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
Someone told me that, and I was like, and they're like, it's actually a disservice to society or to people if you don't share your experiences or your story or the ways that you can help.
Yeah, it's like it's not about you at this point, right? You're just trying to help others, and sometimes you'll say something and it'll change somebody's life.
Yeah.
I went to this Russian-speaking networking party in Miami. It wasn't a party; it's like a forum almost, and I literally didn't make it to the actual hall where they had presentations, because every 5 minutes somebody would stop me. They're like, "Oh, I watched this, I did this," and I'm like, "I know who you are," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like it was crazy. But my current why, and I think something that may apply to others in my position, is that I lost my mom. Like my full family immigrated here. I lost her like a couple of years ago, and she was this super smart, accomplished person, right? Hyper smart. But in the best traditions of women from our society, she just kind of like gave that all up after getting married and having kids. She just kind of sacrificed. She didn't develop as a person because of the traditional role that the world assigned to her, and she assigned to herself, perhaps. So I felt like she had an amazing, tremendous potential that wasn't realized fully. And at the end of the life, like I spent a lot of time in the hospitals with her. We had some of those discussions, and she made it clear to me that I shouldn't go the same route, that I should just go for it and just like unschool myself as much as I can, just see, So that's my mind now. Like I want to see what is a person of average looks and abilities can achieve in the United States.
Average, you're not average. Oh my God, you like never age. You look like a porcelain doll.
I don't know. Thank you. It's like with filters, yeah. But I think. Like I just know a lot of amazing people, and a lot of amazing, beautiful, smart, like accomplished people. So I think I feel like I'm like very normal, like medium person, and so. But you know how I always look at somebody like Madonna, and I'm like, Madonna honestly doesn't have the best vocals, right? Or so, like she's not the most talented singer, right? But yet she achieved a lot. She climbed to the top. So I'm kind of like want to follow the same path as her, but in entrepreneurship and with less drama and better family life, right?
Well, I don't think you're average at all. I feel like you're one of like the most exceptional, like inspirational and intelligent people I've ever met. And I've met a lot of, and I'm like you. I'm very honest. If like someone's not that, you know, but in a nice way. Yeah, like maybe this is not for you.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
But no, I think it goes back to what you were saying before, right? It's about like the people who make it. It's not that they're like so different than anyone else. It's just that like that mindset that like they believe in themselves and that they took the risk, they took that action, they're consistent. And it's like that's something I hear often about. The mindset is the foundation of success.
Absolutely.
And like another thing I've heard recently is like that kind of what you're a little aligned with that too. It's like they call it again, like Hormozy says this, like Tony Robbins says it, like all these thought leaders say it. Vishen Lakhani from like Mind Valley, they say it the same thing but in a different way. And it's like the identity shifting. Like who do I have to be that highest and best version of myself? To be the Madonna of entrepreneurship, right? Like, who do I have to be? And like shift into that identity and belief in yourself. How did you develop your mindset? Okay, that's the last question. I'm not going to break my rule anymore. How did you develop the mindset to believe in yourself?
I think in where I grew up, I was born in Soviet Union, and I was born in Uzbekistan, which is a kind of like you have the Soviet dogma and culture of conformity, right? You have to think like the party tells you to think, dress like they tell you to dress, right? Plus the Muslim and Asian and Central Asian vibe, which is like a woman have a certain role in society, which is certainly not the hell like starting a business or moving to another country or anything like that. So I felt like for me to my parents, first of all, never made me conform to anything specific. They just kind of let me be like a wild rice, right? So, and so I was able to shape my own opinions about the world. And so, for instance, in my home country, women are extremely beautiful because you have like this mix of different bloods, right? And which always produces the best
like you.
People. I think, you know, I'm like straight up 100% Korean, as Korean as they come. Even at 23 and he says that. But, and so, you know, and women are highly judged by the looks. Are you beautiful? Are you not beautiful? And that's like literally everything that's wrong in life. You know, sometimes people are like, oh, you're beautiful or you're not beautiful or whatever. Now, like I walked up, I remember I was like 8 probably. I walked up to the mirror and I looked at myself. I was like, all right, there are definitely people that look better than I, right? But there are also women that look worse than I. Like people look worse than I. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to use my own opinion of me, right? Of what I need to be doing and just live by that. Because if I start listening to what the elderly people are saying, like what the grandma on the bench told me about me, or some hater, or even some admirer, like if people constantly tell me something nice about myself, if I took it all seriously, imagine how big my head would be like 4 times the size that I am. It's already pretty big, right? So I think just kind of like when you follow somebody else in terms of like a communist party that tells you to think a certain way, or like this older people, and like I have on my YouTube channel, which became kind of suddenly popular, it's in Russian, right? I have a lot of haters who are from older generation and very poor areas. So they tell me like, that's not how women's supposed to behave. You're not supposed to like do business or be independent, all this. Like you're not a mother, you're not a wife, right? And so, and I say like, look, you ruined your own life and your country with your shit opinions, right? So let us be like, we're the new generation, right? No, it's true, because that's literally, I don't say it with hate or emotion, like this is literally my opinion. It's like everybody's entitled to craft your own life. And so if you're gonna listen to somebody else's opinion about you, your life, your face, your eyebrows, right, whatever, then you're gonna go crazy. So just when people tell me like, oh, you're beautiful, I'm like, okay, thanks. Because I can go and look at myself in the mirror. I have eyeballs. I can see exactly how beautiful or not I am on any given day, right? Anybody else's opinion, it doesn't really matter. Besides maybe my husband, which cool. My husband always thinks I'm beautiful, so that kind of helps. But
that's great.
My kids think I'm beautiful. Like my 11-year-old. This is gonna be my last story. My 11-year-old. One day I'm sitting in the living room and I'm wearing a hat. You know, one of those hat moments. And he's like, "Mommy, why are you wearing a hat indoors?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm tired, so I look like shit." So he's like, "Let me see." So he come over and like lifts up my hands like, no, you actually look beautiful. Don't worry about it. Like he just takes my head off.
That's sweet.
You know, and so how can I then afterwards think about myself that I look bad, like or whatever. Like it's like his opinion matters to me. My own eyeballs matter to me probably the most.
Yeah.
Like I can judge, like you can evaluate how good of a commercial real estate agent you are, how good of a friend you are, how good of a wife you are. Deep down inside, you know. Doesn't matter what you say, what people tell you. You should have your own assessment objectively about who you are as a person. You should try to like improve that, right? Too. Like how can I be a better wife? How can I be a better mom? How can I be a better entrepreneur? You can work on that stuff. Don't punish yourself, but have your own objective opinion as to yourself, as to who you are, right? And that kind of anchors me against all the other noise that's going on around us. Always, like a society always tells you this or that. But as a woman, as an Asian woman, especially, like you have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I just get to do whatever the hell I want to do.
That's a lesson we learn over time, though. I think after we grow up and build our confidence, and I definitely agree with you as always. Oh, like I'm on.
We think alike.
We think alike. And it's like I'm like I never take advice from anyone I wouldn't trade places with.
Yeah.
And so I was like, if it comes to business advice, if you aren't running a 7, 8, 9 figure business, then I'm not going to take your advice. And then if you're not in a successful relationship, I'm not going to take your advice on relationships. And different people have different strengths and attributes and different accomplishments.
Yeah.
And so someone might be super fit and healthy, but not financially successful. And so I might listen to their advice or insights.
Don't take cooking advice.
Yeah, right, like things like that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that made me think of is one of the things I learned in joining EO or Entrepreneurs Organization is there's a really interesting concept. They call it experience shares. And it's also part of what sparked this whole idea is the way we call it is it's like a buffet. You take from it what you want. And so you listen to other people's experiences, their insights and their advice or their stories, but you don't have to take everything. They might share 10 tips and really only 2 or 3 resonate with you. Take those 2 or 3 and leave the rest. Not everyone is the same in what they think, what they want.
It's not copy paste.
Yeah, and everyone's journey is different. So
yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad we're having this discussion. So
yes, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.
And how much I was and that was a free coaching session for this. She usually charges a lot of money for
I
this.
do, yeah. Very expensive.
So you just got a free, how much do you even charge an hour for coaching? A lot.
I actually hardly, right now it's $500 an hour, but I don't take most clients. I only take very specific ones.
So it's a priceless business coaching session.
Yeah. I value my time at $10,000 an hour.
Now. So thank you for always
of course.
Thank you. Yay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited. And if you guys have any questions, I feel like I can pick her brain and talk to her for hours. And I feel like every time we connect, I learn so much from you. So comment below if you guys have questions.
Yeah.
Look her up, Google her, and check out her companies. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe she's so humble. And she's willing to just take this time because she's amazing. She's amazing.
We're actual friends though. So.
We are really good friends. But you are also amazing, and you're Googleable, if that makes sense. Googleable,
yeah.
So look her up and check out all her amazing awards and accolades. And this is such a treat. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.